Welcome to the lecture on the Pons. The Pons is a special relay center for the cortico-pontocerebellar tract. It is responsible for highly coordinated repetitive movements that require skill, extensive control, and intensive training. The Pons is placed between the medulla inferiorly and the midbrain superiorly. It is divided into a ventral basis pontis and a dorsal pontine tegmentum. Grossly, it has two massive structures on the sides of the ventrally placed basis pontis. The groove or sulcus between the two lateral structures contain the basilar artery which provide pontine branches that reach the pons circumferentially. On the lateral aspect of the pons, we have two massive middle cerebellar peduncles which course forwards and downwards to reach the cerebellum. They are carrying fibers which are second-order neurons of the cortico-pontocerebellar pathway to the deep cerebellar nuclei. Posteriorly, the pons is provided with the floor of the fourth ventricle. The roof of the ventricle is made up of the superior medullary velum and the fastigium of the cerebellum. Behind the pons, the fourth ventricle has the following prominent structures: tuberculum acousticum, which is part of the vestibular area; striae medullaris; median eminence, which is continuous with that of the medulla; and the fascia colliculus. Internal structure of the pons. A basis pontis. This is the ventrally placed structure of the pons, containing massive cortico-pontine fibers which terminate on their second-order neurons in the basis pontis. The fibers arise from all the lobes of the cortex. Hence we have the following fibers: temporopontine fibers, parietopontine fibers, occipitopontine fibers, and frontopontine fibers. Frontopontine fibers occupy the anterior position in the pyramidal tract. The fibers terminate at different levels in the pons and synapse on the second-order neurons, which then run transversely to reach the middle cerebellar peduncle of the opposite side. These fibers are termed the transversely running pontine fibers. They will project through the middle cerebellar peduncle to enter the deep cerebellar nuclei, which are as follows: globus, emboliform, fastigious, fastigial, and dentate nuclei. Pontine tegmentum. This carries two important structures. Number one, the pontine reticular formation. Number two, the cranial nerve nuclei associated with the pons, which are as follows: the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh cranial nerves. The pontine reticular formation. This is an extension of the medullary reticular formation, and it consists of two parts: a central tegmental part and a lateral part, which contains the following nuclear groups: nucleus reticularis, pontis, pars, oralis. This is the most cranial of the groups. Nucleus reticularis, pontis, pars, caudalis. This is the continuous with the reticular formation of the medulla. And the last is the nucleus reticularis, pontis, pars, interpolaris. This is placed between the pars oralis and the pars caudalis. Pontine cranial nerve nuclei. We have facial nerve. This nerve has its nucleus buried in the fascia colliculus, a little ventral to the nucleus of the abducent nerve. It then forms a genu which sweeps across the dorsal surface of the abducent nucleus in order to reach the lateral aspect of the pontine tegmentum, where it runs a ventral course to escape at the cerebellopontine angle, medial and inferior to the point of escape of the abducent nerve. It immediately at its extrapulbar course forms the external genu of a facial nerve before it expands to form the geniculate ganglion. This nervous intermediate part then gives off two branches, the chorda tympani and the greater pretorsal nerve. The chorda tympani enters the lingual nerve and it carries secretomotor fibers which reach the submandibular ganglion and are distributed to oral glands and the submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. The greater pretorsal nerve passes forwards to enter the pterygopalatine ganglion, where it relays and its postganglionic fibers then enter the nasal and palatine glands. The facial nerve itself proceeds through the stylomastoid canal and emerges at the stylomastoid foramen to enter the face and supply the muscles of facial expression. The nucleus associated with the facial nerve is the motor nucleus of the facial nerve. Other nuclei are the superior salivary nucleus, the nucleus of the tractus clitorius. Hence, the facial nerve, together with its nervous intermediate component, has the following functional components, which are four in number. 1. GSA fibers, which supply the auricle. 2. GVA fibers, which are secretomotor from the superior salivary nucleus. They will supply the submandibular and sublingual glands, including nasal and palatine glands, and the lacrimal apparatus via the nerve which hitchhikes in the zygomatico-temporal nerve. Number 3, you have SVE fibers, which supply the muscles of facial expression, including platysma, buccinator, posterior belly of the digastric, and the stylohyoid. They are from the motor or nucleus, the motor nucleus of a facial nerve. Then you have SVA fibers for taste in the anterior two-third of the tongue via the chorda tympani. The abducent nerve. This nerve has its nucleus placed within the facial colliculus. It is responsible for the formation of the colliculus at the floor of the fourth ventricle. The fibers of the internal genu of the facial nerve sweeps across its normal dorsal aspect and later lateral to it. It escapes, that is the abducent nerve, escapes from the brainstem above the pyramid at the pontomedullary junction. The abducent nerve is surrounded by the paraabducent nucleus. This nucleus is thought to contain fibers which are part of the extrapyramidal system that control lateral gaze movement. Abducent nerve supplies the lateral rectus. Damage to this nerve will cause paralysis of the lateral rectus. Damage to the paraabducent nucleus will lead to paralysis of lateral gaze. The rostral part of the pons begins to change its configuration so that to that of the isthmus rhomencephaly. Hence, certain nuclear groups belonging to the isthmus begin to appear and show themselves in the upper part of the pons. They include certain Raphe nuclei and the locus ceruleus. Welcome to the second part of the pons. We shall begin by talking about the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve has the following nuclear groups in the pontine tegmentum. The sensory nuclear group, which carry general somatic afferent fibers, GSA. They are 1. Mesencephalic nucleus of 5. 2. Principal sensory nucleus of 5, that is the pontine nucleus. Number 3. Spinal nucleus of 5. This is an extension from the upper cervical level through the medulla. Number 4. Motor nucleus of 5, which carry SVE, special visceral efferent fibers to structures derived from the first pharyngeal arch, that is the muscles of mastication and others. Sensory nuclear group is quite massive. It extends from cervical level C4 through the medulla to the mesencephalon. It may therefore be divided into two. A superior group, this is formed in the pons and in the midbrain. It is the principal sensory nucleus and the mesencephalic nucleus of 5. The pontine nucleus or principal sensory nucleus is placed lateral to the motor nucleus in the pontine tegmentum. They both lie in the dorsal aspect of the tegmentum, close to the floor of the fourth ventricle. The mesencephalic nucleus is slightly displaced more dorsally, medial to the superior cerebellar peduncle, and extending upwards into the midbrain. The mesencephalic nucleus contains first-order neurons for proprioception of the face region, supplied by the fibers of 5. The principal sensory nucleus is responsible for fine sensation of the face region, while the spinal nucleus is responsible for coarse sensation in the same face region. The sensory nucleus neurons are pseudo-unipolar, with the cell bodies in the trigeminal ganglion placed at the trigeminal cave of the middle cranial fossa. Their peripheral processes pass through the corresponding nerve divisions as follows: the ophthalmic, maxillary, or mandibular divisions. The sensory nuclear group is arranged in a laminar fashion. Ophthalmic fibers are ventral, maxillary are intermediate, and medulla or mandibular are dorsal. Motor nucleus of 5 passes through the portio minor, being smaller than the sensory division which passes through portio major. The fibers remain separate from the sensory division, but join the division distally by entering the mandibular nerve, which carries them through the foramen ovale into the infratemporal fossa. The motor division of 5 would supply the muscles of mastication, medial pterygoid, lateral pterygoid, masseter, and temporalis. These are the muscles of mastication, and then other muscles derived from the first pharyngeal arch, which are as follows: mylohyoid, tensor tympani, tensor veli palatini, anterior belly of digastric, all with special visceral efferent fibers, SVE. The isthmus rubencephaly. The junction between the pons and the midbrain contains the isthmus rubencephaly. This means the isthmus of the hindbrain. It is so called because it has a small cavity which joins the cerebral aqueduct superiorly in the midbrain. The isthmus has certain characteristics. For example, the raphe nucleus and lucus coeruleus are found in its tegmentum. Its ventral portion is similar in configuration to the upper part of the pons. This contains prominent transversely running fibers which are equally maintained at rostral levels in the lower part of the midbrain. It has a diagnostic feature, which is the presence of the decussation of a trochlear nerve which takes place dorsally and dorsal to the superior edge of the fourth ventricle at the superior medullary velum, which forms the roof of the fourth ventricle at the back of the pons. This is usually used to determine the presence of the isthmus in cross sections of the brainstem. The superior cerebellar peduncle also begins its decussation at this level. This decussation will continue to lower levels of the midbrain. The lateral lemniscus is now placed lateral to the medial lemniscus, beginning at rostral levels of the pons. The superior olive is placed between them. Gradually, the lateral lemniscus begins to escape dorsally as it enters the tectum, initially into the inferior colliculus before it reaches the superior colliculus.